Hey, and welcome to week 2, class 2A. We're going to review a little bit, do a little bit of admin stuff, a little bit of review of last class, and then we're going to start into formulas and functions. It's an exciting week, and the stuff that we're learning this week is so important. Right? A couple of housekeeping stuff, one of them being MyITLab. A lot of you will still be running the 14-day free trial at this point, and the clock is ticking. You're going to run out of days, so you need to get over to the UO bookstore, buy your MyITLab access code, and get that inputted into here to get this rolling. Okay, you have to buy that from the bookstore and not anywhere else. The bookstore or online from the bookstore, but you got to buy it from the UO Duck store and get that code and get it into here. You don't want to run out right when the homework's getting ready to be due, or even worse, when you're coming to lab, right? So get that taken care of before that. So a note on homework, remember that you can always do homework up to 1 week late, right? There's no problem with that. I'm happy to take late work because that means you're getting the work done. It's a win-win, right? So any student from all of week one stuff can be turned in. You can get the week 1 Canvas activities. If you're running behind on those, you can go back and watch all those videos and get those U-tries turned in, and those are due by Friday. You can go back, you can do the office project, right, from last week, and you can get that done, or you can do the simulation that was due last week and get that done by Friday of this week, and I'll still take those late submissions, all right? So no one ever failed this course from just turning stuff in late now and then. Plenty of people failed this course by not turning things in, so stay on top of that. Only excused absences can make up the quizzes or the labs. So if you had an excused absence, you want to contact me or the lab GTF and get that scheduled for a makeup. Right. This is this week, and we saw this in the overview, but let's take a look at it one more time. We can see that we had homework due this Monday. We have homework due again on Thursday. We got these 2 classes in between, so this is what the week looks like, right? So here we are. You'll also see that on Friday you have a quiz, and then on Thursday or Friday, depending upon when your lab time is, right, that you've got a lab coming up. And so that's the same every week. So just get used to that, right? I mean, get used to Friday and then your lab, and that happens every week. So you can rely on that. It's going to be exactly the same. For preparing for lab, right, the way to do that, the smart preparation for that is to look on Canvas and look at our information stuff there for each week, for week 2 to get on there and take a look, and you can look at the summary, all right? So a really dedicated student would look at this chapter summary, maybe even print that out and go through there and pay attention to that. Every student, however, should be looking at the Lab 2 prep document. You've got to look at that before you come to lab, right? And when you look at that, you're going to see that each skill necessary is going to be listed out there, and you're going to be able to read through that and really quickly tell if you're prepared for that or not. Right? When you read down through that lab prep and you come across it and it says VLOOKUP, and it tells you, hey, if you see right there, it says, hey, you got to use a VLOOKUP, just like it says on the screen right now. You're going to have to insert a VLOOKUP function. If that does not make sense to you, you need to go back and study, right, and practice that skill. You'll go back right there in the simulation that you just did, right there. There it is. There's VLOOKUP. You used it right there. And then in the project that you're doing this week, right, the homework project, there it is again. So if you're looking at the lab prep document and this doesn't make sense to you, go back to these things and take a look at it. And one really good way to look at that project is like we were just looking at when we just did the reflections and corrections and feedback video, and I told you all about how to do those things. We looked at the view submissions tab on your prep document. You want to take a look at that and look at what you got wrong and look at how you got things right as far as doing something like that VLOOKUP. Right? You go back and take a look at that. So that's how you would do that, and you use the download submission with live comments view of that to look at your Excel file and see what you did right or maybe what you did wrong so you can prepare for lab. So just a couple slides on review. Let's talk about one of the key things we talked about from last week was that when you write text, you write a sentence and it just spills on over and just goes right over all the cells, right? Then the big difference, though, is that if you're writing numbers, it does not do that, right? If you're writing numbers down here and the number is too big to fit into a cell, it's formatted in such a way that it's too big for that cell, you'll get the railroad tracks, right? You'll get those railroad tracks, the pound signs, and what that's telling you is, hey, this number's too big to fit into this cell, and that's really polite because if it was a number like 1 million, but the cell was too small and it chopped it off, we might read that as 100 or 1,000 and be totally wrong. So it's actually very polite of Excel to do this and show us those railroad tracks and let us know that we need to widen out this column so we can see the whole number. The other thing that we talked about last week that's really important is date formatting, right? And us knowing that dates are just that. They're just formatting, right? That today's date is something like 42,680, that it's been 42,680 days since the January 1st, 1900, when Excel started counting dates. And so we can take any number, we can take the number 40,000, click date format, and it'll show us that day's date, right? In a date format, we can tell it we want a short date, so that today's date, for might be January 11th or something like that, right? January 11th, 2015. And then if we hit long date, it'll actually spell it out and say January. And so all sorts of different formats to make dates look differently. But the key takeaway is that any date can just become a number with a click of a button, and any number can become a date with a click of a button. So if you're expecting to see a number somewhere and you get a date back, don't be worried. Just go up to your formatting, change it into a number, and you'll see the number that you are expecting.